my dental appointment, and I survived my experience, except for about 12 hours later, I broke another tooth. That's 3 in about 3 months. Isn't that special? It's so fun to fall apart. Hey, let's not even think about that. Let's get back to our peacock painting. What have we done so far? Well, so far we have done a drawing, and we have put a high quality red acrylic paint around the outside of the body, leaving the tail behind. Now what I've got today is I've got one of those little frozen food containers that I use for a palette. I like those a lot. That's just fun. And I've got a brush. And in my tray I have some phthalo blue acrylic paint, a little bit of a dioxazine purple, and I also have some teals. Oh, and one other really cool thing, which is a metallic acrylic paint in, what is the color? Oh, hey, it's Peacock Pearl. Ooh, that's kind of cool. I know, we talked about high quality paints and stuff. This is a deco art paint, but I like it and it works really well. It's not, it's not super expensive, but it kind of, we're going to just see if it makes a really neat effect in the end. I hope so. All right. So let's try, when things go back into space, you want them to be a little bit on the dark side as they go back into space often. So we're going to begin with that. I'm going to start with a little bit of cobalt or phthalo blue. I better double check on that to make sure that that's actually a phthalo blue. Yes, it is. Okay, I win. All right, and I'm going to put this around the outside of the bird like this. So I'm going to add that around the outside of the bird, and I want to make sure I've got a little bit of either medium or a tiny bit of water. I don't want to add too much water, and I'm going to go around the bird like this, and then I'm going to fill this in a little bit around the head. Now I know where this head's going to go, so I'm going to fill the whole head in right there, and I'll paint my beak in a little bit later. And I'll fill it in, and then I want to put a little bit of a lighter color in the middle of it. So this is just a basic light turquoise color in acrylic paint. And I can even add a little bit of purple around the edge. I wanted to make this neck a little bit fatter because it looked like a swan or a goose. And so I want to make it a little bit fatter. And then I'll go back in again and put that teal in the middle. And we just kind of fill it in a little bit. It's a lot of filling in art. It just is. I want it kind of dark around the outside, and then we're going to make it lighter in the middle. That just makes it look round, all right? So let's just do that a little bit. And that'll be our first little layer, and we just want to make sure that we get rid of all that white canvas that's been sticking on there. There. The head looks about the right shape. Good. And I'm actually gonna pull this neck out just a bit farther so that we don't have any of that white canvas sticking out again. Good. And what we'll do, let's see, I'm gonna grab a little bit of that sparkly metallic paint for the middle section right here. And I'll let that dry, and I'll put in a second coat in it on maybe our third layer of paint. So that looks, I think that looks good. You really don't know what it's going to look like until it dries, because acrylic dries a little different than oil. Oil will dry almost exactly the same color as you put down. Acrylic will dry darker or, a little bit different. So most of the time it's darker. So paint it a little lighter than you think it's supposed to be, and it'll probably be just right. Okay. So here we have our little bird. And then on top of that, there we go. All right, so it's dark on the edge. I'm going to do a little bit darker on that side over here. There. I can mess with this for hours sometimes if I'm painting in oil. Oh my goodness. Oh, and acrylic, it doesn't matter. It's just one of those things. I want it to look really luminous. Really luminous. I love luminous. Okay, now the next thing I want to do is I'm going to put in, this is odd, I know. I'm going to take some of that teal and a little bit of the purple, and I'm going to come down and put a little bit of that into the tail, like that. And I'm going to pick up just the teal for a second. You see how that just really looks neat? Now this is just our first layer on the tail. And so I'm putting the strokes, I'm not just filling it in, everybody. I'm making the strokes move in a particular direction, like this. Okay, so I'm swooping the tail from here all the way down to here, if I can. And then I'll grab a little of that metallic paint. This is the underpainting. Again, underpainting. It's like your underwear. You got to put it on, otherwise your clothes look funny on the outside. So this is the underpainting. It's foundational. Foundational. I like having a little bit of the phthalo blue running in and out of that. Now I have all kinds of different options that I can do. Now I've added a little bit of that metallic just to see what it's going to do. And so I'm going to continue with that for a minute. So just in the direction of the way the tail is flowing. There we go. Yeah. So as I'm filling this in, I'll tell you, today we woke up to about 4 degrees today. That's Fahrenheit. That's really cold. And so we had to heat the studio up pretty warm before we could even get started. And in a couple of days, we are going to end up with a storm that's going to drop another 2 to 4 feet. That's over a meter of snow for you guys in the UK and other places in the world. So it's getting really crazy up here. I'm not kidding you. Today the sun is shining, hallelujah. But it's getting a little bit crazy. Maybe I'll put another photo out there. In fact, we might even take the camera outside at some point and show you how that really looks. It's bananas. Okay, so you can see that I've got this line going this way. I'm going to put a little dark paint so that you can see what I'm talking about. I'm going this direction. I know that seems a bit obvious, but anyway. Okay, I'll fill this in. Now, I've got this is the next technique that's going to be really, really neat. Just went right over that red. Oh well, it's only paint. It's only paint. And of course, when you're not looking, I'll paint the sides of the canvas as well. So now we're going to have to let that dry. Well, what do we do in the meantime? Okay, this is going to be fun. I'm going to throw this into some water and rinse it. Now I have a second bucket that I just picked up. And in this bucket, I have metallic gold paint. All right, this is metallic gold. And I'm going to now take a foam brush. Now you can take a palette knife or a foam brush, whatever. I like these with the edges on it. And I'm going to give this a very generous layer of metallic gold acrylic paint. Now you could even use kind of one of those gold leaf things, you know, where you actually put layers of metal on it, and it would really, really look cool too. So we'll do that one day too. So first thing, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put on a really thick layer of this gold paint. And thankfully it's nice and cold in here, so it's not going to dry too fast. You're doing a large layer of, a large surface layer. It can dry really fast, especially in the summertime, so you got to watch out for that. And you have all kinds of different options. You can take a little piece of cardboard and create almost an effective bamboo by just scooting it sideways in a few different places. This is your opportunity to make some designs in the paint. And wow, is it ever fun. It's so fun. My students really enjoy this an awful lot. And they come up with all kinds of fun little designs. They make their own personal design stuff into the background, and it's really cool. So I'm just going to keep filling this in for a minute. Just take a few seconds. Now don't get this too thin. Do not get this too thin. If it's thin, it's not going to, you're not going to be able to leave a mark. So it'll just be, you got to just be generous with it. Okay, I'm going to go around the little head a little bit. Remember that if I go over the line, that's okay. I just paint the blue back over the gold again. If I don't get up to the line, or I don't get up to the blue part, and I leave a space between it, it's a problem. So don't worry about overlapping a little bit. That's okay. And I'm just going to make sure I have a significant, and then I got this little triangle down here. I better be careful. Oh, not too careful. All right, here we go. I'm going to just scoot some of that gold in there. Come up like this. Again, I'm not worried about going over the leg or the little wingy part, because I can always, at this stage, I can take a paper towel and I can go like this. I can just wipe it off a little bit, and I wipe off the leg just like that. I can use a Q-tip. I can do all kinds of things just to correct it before it gets too set in stone. All right. Now, here's another really fun tool that I love. I have this, somebody sent me this from an art supply company. I don't know what it is. It's, these are made out of kind of a flexible rubber. And they're texture tools for paint. And you can just, you know, if paint gets dried on them, just like I got right here, you can just peel it right off, and it's really neat. So if you don't have one of these, you can make one out of cardboard. Just take a piece of cardboard and cut out some shapes and make some designs out of that, and try that. That's really fun. Or you can just use a little fork out of your drawer. Try that, and just make some interesting swirls. I'm going to try it. All right, so we've got now the red underneath and the gold on the top. And I'm going to come up to the top right now, and I'm going to begin by making some interesting little designs. I'm going to flip this over and see if this side is a little bit stronger. Yep. And so you can see I have just some very interesting little swirls coming off of that. I'll come along next to it like this and just echo it all the way across the canvas, I think. Sometimes I like to take another implement, like a stylus, or even if I want a wide thing, I'll use a Q-tip on this, and it'll work great. Wiping the paint off, coming in again, and making a little more. It just gives it an interesting, I can repaint it if I don't like it. I just put another coat of gold before it dries, and I can try it again. It's not a big deal. Yeah, there we go. So down the bird, going past the bird, and then I'll come up under the chin and give it a little bit more. There we go. Now the main thing is, don't walk away and have a cup of coffee and then come back and hope you can do this. It'll be too dry and you won't be able to do the same effect. You'll have to start over and repaint the red in. So we'll just do this again, and I'll make sure I get all these spots right there. Little swirlies. I can go back and forth and put something across. I can make a basket looking thing if I go a little bit there, a little bit there, and create a basket weave. That's kind of interesting. I think I like that. I'm going to do that. So I'm just going kind of every other little thing. So I've got some coming down, just like you're weaving a basket. Like this, and then across, and then, let's see, I'll get this. And hopefully you can see this. Anyway, it's fun. You just can make whatever kind of design that you like onto it. And let's see, that's going down there. This goes across. I'm getting losing track here. Just keep going for a little bit. So that's fun. Now, I'll just make a few going across this way too. I do want this to turn out, not like I'm just doing it for fun. It is fun. Okay, now I'm going to come back in and restate the body of the bird so that it covers any of the marks that kind of jumped over the edge. So come back in with a little bit of that dark blue, and then I'll come back in and restate and put the neck in so that it's nice and sharp. I don't want it too sharp, but I do want it to not look like it's a mess. Fatten that up a little because I know that body is going out about like that. There we go. All right. Now, at this stage, I'm going to come in with the metallic light peacock teal and do a second layer of the lighter color in the center of the bird. And I don't want any lines where it's like, oh, here's the light, here's the dark. I want it to kind of merge together a little bit. So there, I'm going to put a little bit of merging. I fuse the colors together a little bit. A little gold that popped up right there. I'm not even going to worry about that little tiny beak. It's just kind of a placement spot right there. There we go. Good. I'm going to now take some, a little bit of teal. I mixed it in with our gold, and I made kind of a light, a light mint green. And I'm going to put that along what I call the little tank top part of our bird right here. I'm going to make this much, much brighter at some point, but right now I just want to cover up that white. And I'm also going to use that same color on the little egg right here. So it's kind of a middle of the road mint green at this stage. And we'll put some wonderful designs on it as we go. First off, I better cover up that red. Oh yeah. Okay, so I'm going to cover up the red a little bit. I want to be able to see where my lines are a little bit so that when I go to put the second layer on, we'll be able to see it. All right, so there we go. Put that little ostrich egg in place with a middle tone mint green. I like it. I'm going to get a little bit crazy at some point, and we're going to get into some lime green or chartreuse green for the stuff back here. But for now, this is where I'm at. I'm going to add a little bit more of the metallic gold to the mix, and I'll put that right here onto the leg so it's a little bit more yellow. Right here on our little triangular leg, like that. I want to cover up that green line that I had on there. And I'll drag that down to the tail. Probably should have done that before so I could do the tail over the top of it. Got to be careful about stuff like that. I don't want to lose our beak completely, so I'm going to go into the white paint now. This is a bright, so it's sharp edged on the top, and I'm going to put our beak back in like this. Just a little beak. There. Okay, I'm going to take the back side of one of my paint brushes. And that's not the side with the brush, but the back side, the side we don't normally use. I'm going to dip it into some black acrylic paint. And I've got a little bit of black on the end of that. And now I'm going to create the eye by coming right about into the middle and just sticking it on there. And I'm going to give it a little bit of a swirl. Lift it off and hope for the best. Isn't that cute? Yeah, it worked really well. So, the other thing that I'm going to do now, I'm going to let that dry, and then I'll put a little highlight onto the eye itself with some white. But we'll do that after it has a chance to dry so that we don't kind of smudge it. You have to do it in layers, everybody. Okay. All right, now the next part I'm going to do is I'm going to take this little bright brush that I have. I'm going to add a little more white to it. I've got a little bucket of white down here. And I'm going to make a little line above the eye like this. And then below the eye like that. That gives it a few little marks. Makes it have a little personality. Careful you don't put them like this or they look really kind of mean. So make them a little bit round, maybe. Yeah. I'm actually going to now elongate this, this beak a little bit by adding a line underneath it. And it's picking up a little bit of the blue, and that's just fine. What else does this have? Oh, it has a little bit of a nostril. So I want to look up like this and see if I can figure out where that fits. You can get really fussy with it or you can stylize it. It's not a big deal. You decide. It's your painting. Yeah, I just wanted to bring it back into the head just a little bit farther. It's kind of fun. Alright. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take the white that I've still got on my brush and I'm going to create a little bit of a highlight on the leg as though the light's coming from over here. And so I'm going to add that white on one side of the leg, like that, and kind of make some little softening lines right there. And then I'm also going to put that white now in the middle of the egg to kind of lighten it up in the very center part so that it looks like it comes forward a little bit. There. I'll go back into some of that mint green and move it back and do a second layer. Second layer behind the leg right there. Clean that up a little bit. And around the bottom. It's always a good idea to have more than one layer of paint on anything. You want to make sure that you're painting on top of paint eventually. So it's not just one layer of paint. That's looking good. Alright, now I'm going to take just a tiny bit, I know this sounds a little bit crazy, take a tiny bit of purple and mix it in with our mint green color. And I'm going to give this a little more depth by putting purple or a lavender in with the mint and making a bit of a shadow in the leg so that it looks like it turns back into space right there. You can see that. And the same thing here, I'll make it as, ooh, that's really purple. That's okay, I'll grab some more mint green and put it into it, and it will create this kind of illusion of it being round. So a little more mint green. We'll just work it in. It's so much easier when you're doing it in oil, but then it doesn't dry for like a week. So we want to be able to let this dry fast. Okay, before I sign off on this particular lesson, I'm going to dip the end of my brush into some white now, a little tiny dot, and I'm going to just put the highlight onto the eye right here. And I'll put a little tiny dot there and make him look like he's got little shiny eyes. Doesn't that sparkle in the eye make a huge bit of difference? Yes, it does. Alright, this is a really good time for me to just take a little break, ending part 2, and we will meet again as soon as this has a little bit of a chance to dry. And we'll be putting the crown on the top of the bird's head with a really cool tool. And we'll be doing, of course, the fun part of the feathers. So don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and you'll be notified when we meet for part 3 next time we meet. Thanks again so much for watching. Bye-bye for now.